You're not sorry?
Not there anymore.
Am I allowed to drink during this?
Oh, Dave, the mustache is great.
The mustache, and then today on a Zoom call, Laura pierced my ear.
Oh, incredible. I love it.
Every day I become closer to being someone who has a lot of facts about Native American reservation genocide on hand. Do you know what I mean? Fingernail polish, orange sweater. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And I'm gonna drink a twisted tea. So I'll be right back.
Sick.
Are you getting twisted?
I'm gonna have a twisted system.
That's the alcoholic. That's the alcoholic ones, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you drink, Benny?
Not really. Yes, but not like secretly. I drink alone and like with like one or two people at a time, but I never in public really.
Yeah, I've never seen you drink like at a mic or comedy.
I got absolutely trashed like a few months ago at like a party, and I was like, oh no. Like next day I woke up, regrets. I was like, okay, well, that's why I don't do that. I remembered.
I just wrote down for an episode name, this is a quote, I drink alone.
Are we rolling?
I'm recording, but I just
Oh shit.
no, I'm not.
Official go, right?
I'll edit then. Are you gonna screen record as well, David?
Do you want me to? Because I can.
Yeah, I'm recording through Zoom and I tested it this morning.
Yeah, tell me when we start.
I tested with headphones and everything, so I think without headphones is better.
Yeah, he's on there. You do it right here.
How do you do it? Oh, okay.
I gotta know when to turn on the Tourette's for when we. Oh, hey Laura, how you doing?
I'm right. How are you? Nice
Good.
stash. I like this facial hair club.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got like the same sweater, like
I
same
had
shape of sweater.
Hold on. I will find it before we start here, just so I don't feel left out. But here is my. This is a latest look when I shave.
Yes.
That's wet, hot, bi-curious summer.
Yeah, wet, hot. No one is wet or hot for that picture. My God.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Another one that I was pretty proud of that I need to find. But
Yeah, I'm glad I'm in a relationship because I would not look like this if I was on the market.
this is my favorite one. This is Dave. He's a volunteer firefighter on weekends, and he works on the ranch usually.
Oh God.
Dave, I think you look great. I like that. I was saying
that man has had a homosexual experience in a grain silo for sure.
Is there another place to have your first one? Honestly,
Laura goes, you might have worked for the Tiger King in this outfit.
Right.
That's fair. Here, I'll hit record on mine too.
What did you think of the Tiger King? Let's just get this started a little bit, just like a little ease in. Benny, what did you think of the Tiger King?
I haven't watched it.
Like I said, we're trying to ease in.
Oh, I'm recording. Okay, very good.
Wait, you don't just recording the corner if someone else is. It does say that.
It says you're recording on Zoom, right?
Correct, yeah.
All right, so that should be fine. I don't know.
Okay.
What's your word? Worst comes to worst, we have to do it again.
Do you want to go with So Tell Us? Do you think that's the best thing for now?
Yeah, let's just call it that for now. Lord only knows what's going to fucking happen. Next month, Donald Trump's going to make eggs illegal or something. I don't know.
Okay. So, yeah, this is the inaugural episode of So Tell Us with Jarrod, Micale, and David Feinberg.
Hello.
Yeah. We're here with our special guest today, Benny Feldman. Look who's in
Hey, everybody.
Feldman.
Feldman.
Yeah.
Min. Minnerman.
Yeah, Feldman. It's spelled M-A-N, but you can like say it kind of like either way, I guess. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I think Feldman was the name of the the fake Newman on Seinfeld when they had the Bizarro Jerry. And do you remember that episode?
I also haven't seen Seinfeld.
You ever seen any episodes of
Tiger King before. I haven't seen that. What's that?
You've never seen any episodes of Seinfeld?
I've seen like 2.
Yeah?
This is insane. This is like a caveman. Caveman.
Thanks for joining the podcast. Benny, we're going to hang up on you now. This has been great.
Anybody out there watching, if you've seen Seinfeld, please hit our DM and we'll interview you.
Are we gonna be audio based or video based? Because if so, I'm gonna have to explain why I'm like in 1920s Brooklyn right now.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like yeah.
I wasn't even thinking. I thought it was like decorations, but that's like your clothing.
No, this is how I draw my clothes.
There's
Oh,
just
wait,
like
all the time?
As of recently, I'm trying to be more environmentally conscious, and a lot of electricity is spent on heating water. So I just wash my clothes cold, and then I hang them like this. It only takes like a few hours.
Fascinating.
and you still have those long johns back there, like
Yeah. I've got my long johns and I've got my plumber's helper in case someone comes in and tries to make a meal of me. Huh? Come on, Pop. I'm ready to swing.
Awesome. That's all right. So this is So Tell Us. We're just starting kind of a random thing, seeing how it goes. First guest, Mr. Benny Feldman. We're excited to have him. Benny,
Hey,
thank
I'm
you for
glad to
being
be
here.
here.
Oh,
Thank you very much. Sorry.
was that your Elvis
Pardon.
impression?
There's like lag in between I guess like
I didn't even
the
think.
people. So it's like you're gonna be asking a question. I'm gonna be like, yes, here's my life story.
Yeah, so I kind of wrote some stuff down, David. We'll kind of go off the cuff here, but
Yeah. Let's consider it a test.
we always start the first time with who are you? Where are you from? You know, why'd you start comedy? Anything like that?
Yeah.
Who am I? All right. I'll start with the stuff that's like very grounded. The where am I from? I'm from like the suburbs of Philly, but now I live in Philadelphia. I live in the Manayunk part. It's nice. I got to walk by the canal. What were the other? There was like three questions at once.
We're thinking of like
Get started? Is that it?
And, yeah, like who are you and like what do you do and where are you from? Like the all the W's except for know how, I guess.
Okay. Well, I do stand up. I tell like one-liner ish jokes about like birds and like dirt, and poop. And I have Tourette's, but I don't. I mean, it's part of my act, but I don't really write as many jokes about it. That's who I am. That's my total identity. It's the gist of my art and my disease.
I
No,
like that.
but
I like
then
that. Yeah.
wait, shit, fucking. How did I get started? I started doing improv my sophomore year of college because a good friend of mine from high school went to college with me as well, and he was like, "You should do improv comedy. I think you would like it." And I didn't know anything about improv because I don't think it had become quite the meme that it was going to become yet at that time. So
How did that start though? How did like that question did he say something you were like, yes, and then he was like, you should do improv? Like
why he's just been a good friend of mine since I was like in like first grade or so. Shout out Patrick West. But he P Dubs, P West get money. So I'm just gonna shout him out for like 10 minutes. We used to look kind of similar, so we would tell people we were like cousins and just like have that be a bit, and people would be like, okay. It's like, not like
care.
Yeah.
You know how many times I got laid because I had cousins in college? Ugh. Left and right. Ass left and right because I had cousins.
I can believe it.
Ugh.
Fucking wait, okay. So yeah, so he's just been a good friend of mine. He knew I like comedy and like in general. I had like homework to do that night, so I wasn't gonna do it. But he said, what if you get on? So I just didn't do my homework. Went and there was like apparently 2 rounds of the auditions, but after the first round, I posted on Facebook because they told me I made it to callbacks. I didn't know what callbacks were, so I posted on Facebook, I made it, and then I had no clue that I hadn't made it yet. So then but luckily I did end up making it, so it didn't look like it.
Where was that at?
That was at Drexel.
Yeah, Benny,
Okay.
you're talking about the pretty well-regarded Drexel football team, right?
I mean, I guess at Drexel, yeah, people. I don't know if they have a reputation outside of Drexel. Is that like something you've heard?
I mean, I personally, I went to Temple, and I remember that the thing about it was west side of Philadelphia was you guys, the Drexel football team, and it was Mask and Wig Club at Penn, and those were like the shows that you would go see. but like I don't know, the Penn kids like never went anywhere. But I remember hearing really like, was there like a golden age of the Drexel football team?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like a golden age. I mean, it truly like changed so much while we were there. I give a lot of credit to like a few different people, especially a good friend of mine, like Dom Arp, who like is like really into like logistics stuff, and he came in and he just like really like rearranged the whole system. We were semi-isolated though. I feel like we didn't like reach out to the Temple people or the Penn people much either.
Who was your
So our
audience?
reputation is interesting. But on campus, we had big shows. What was that, Jared?
Were your audience just students basically?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Okay.
big shows though. So we would do 2 a term, and they would get like 200 people, which was crazy. Like
Wow, the whole time I felt like I was at an improv show. No, but so you transitioned obviously to a better thing like stand up, and decided that that's the way you're gonna do. But what, like, were there people that made you transition to that? Like, were you inspired, or was it just kind of like the same thing where someone's like, "Hey, you're super funny, you should do this"?
Well, people would tell me I'm weird more often than they tell me I'm funny. But but it was actually like through the football team. So that was like how I started performing on stage initially. Also, that was the name of the improv group, the Drexel football team. If I hadn't made that clear. Shit, motherfucker. And
There it is.
so somebody on the team there did like a stand-up competition, and I was like, oh, I want to try that just as like a passing idea. And so the next year, I spent like a full year writing down jokes, and then I did the stand-up competition, and I lost miserably because I had like, it was like my 3rd time ever going up. Actually, my first set ever was all dirty puns.
You remember
I was
any?
gonna say, yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, let me see, because some of them were like references to like real people, so I don't want to do anything that's like, because I don't do that anymore. I don't reference people in my acting because I don't like to do that.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna say, I know that a joke about you is often that, like, I mean, you even said yourself that a lot of your act is like about sticks and God and birds and shit.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think that? I suppose that this will probably get into some of our questions maybe a little bit later on, but in terms of the evolution of how that sort of happened, you started off dirty puns, but now you're well known in Philadelphia as being someone that's like, you know, about rather simplistic things. Can you talk about how you got to that sort of a place?
I realized I was stupid and I leaned into it. It was a gradual process, definitely over time. Like, I mean, I have footage of the 3rd time I ever did stand up. And so the first time was all dirty puns. And the time between that and the 2nd and 3rd time must have been like a few months. So I really like stewed on it. Because the 3rd time is all like these kind of like abstract jokes. Okay, so I'll do one from the dirty puns, and then I'll do one from like abstract.
Very excited.
Shit, fuck. Dirty puns one. I don't even know if it's a pun, but it was like I gotta
Backpedaling your own material. It's amazing.
yeah, it's like I got a blowjob from a Jewish girl who used too much teeth. I call it my 2nd circumcision.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's so bad. Oh my God.
Did the crowd respond well to it when you told the joke?
No, they groaned. They groaned the whole time.
That's a joke that my dad
It's
would
like
go.
she did. No, I'm sorry. Okay. What?
That's a joke my dad would go, he's raunchy, this comedian.
Yeah, I mean, because the dirty stuff isn't, it's a little bit in my heart. Like sometimes I'll write a dirty joke and be like, hell yeah. But it's not in my, it's not in my heart as like my main vibe.
Yeah. But so when you started, basically you kind of just like transitioned to stand up with just the one-liners, and you stuck with the one-liners.
Yeah. One-liners from the get-go.
So it's always been one-liners then?
Yeah, I've done every once in a while I'll do like random ass bullshit. Like one of my favorite ones is I did a like a dancing set, or I've done like 4 of those. But I know Dave remembers one where I put a bunch of sporks in my
okay.
Yeah.
I got a quote from George. Am I pronouncing this right? Bruderman? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't want to shout out George. No, George said, just kidding. Love you, George. George said that you went on stage, you didn't say anything to anybody. You put a bunch of plastic silverware in a beanie.
Yeah.
You only said, I failed out of clown college, and then just spun around for 45 seconds.
It was so intensely weird. And then you went into at Fergie's. You went into that little phone booth that's there, like to like try to console with me about it. And you were like, I don't know if that worked, but I think I had a lot of fun. You know? It seemed like it was good.
That's awesome.
No, it's very funny to hear like my own memories repainted back at me. You know what I mean? It's really cool that you, like I knew you were there for that. So it's neat to like hear hear the other perspectives. But I do every once in a while do like really strange shit because I don't have like enough new jokes or something. And I don't feel like wasting people's time with the same old material. And so like it's not like I'm not working on something when I do that. That's like time to fucking dance, dude. Fucking
I've seen you do
see if I can make a memory. What?
I've seen you do a set where like I've seen you do like basically your set that you normally do and then bring in new jokes and I can watch you like gauge them and then go back to like I watched you do a set like that where you're like kind of like these are some new stuff or you know what I mean and then like gauge them. But I feel like sorry, you didn't say these are the new jokes. You just kind of did them and I'd seen your act. You know what I mean? I kind of think that's cool though because you have that like I think like so the elephant in the room that I talked about is you were on Tosh.0, which is you know I mean like what I was gonna be like oh what was it like to meet Tosh but I just assume it's like being mansplained something while you're a man as well like I just feel like that's his shtick kind of but like
he was actually really nice off camera. He's like actually
really?
he's surprisingly a sweet guy. I mean just because like his on camera persona is like very like that, but I think he's got a staff of writers and like they all I assume he's one of them but like it's definitely not his real personality. He seemed shy.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of cool though to like that's what I was like getting to is like was he that person that's on kind of on camera though, which is cool. But then
no, he was nice. I'm not really I don't really agree politically with the show. But
I don't know what the show is politically. I just thought it was basically like what Rob Dyrdek does, but funnier. Like
I don't really know Rob Dyrdek.
It's like the clip show or whatever. They just show stuff on the internet, whatever.
Or whatever.
Yeah. I just thought it was basically the same thing. But then when I had first seen you, I remember I was outside of Fergie's and someone was like, "Oh, he was on Tosh.0," and I remember looking at that. Yeah. That's kind of cool though. I mean, that's
funny that people like it's so funny to hear the murmurs of like what people are saying. Also, because recently like it was like 2 or 3 different people said to me, "I like your brain," and it was like within the span of like the same few days. And I was like, "Oh, there's like a group of people who like said that," or so like somebody must have said that, and it stuck because it was like I got the same compliment like 3 times in a row.
Yeah,
and it's like that was a conversation somebody was having.
I was gonna say, and this is sort of always the stereotypical question, but like, did anything really like change so much when you did it?
Tosh?
Yeah, after Tosh, before and after, do you find that there's any big differences in how things are?
Well, that's when I settled down. I met my wife, you know, dog. No, not really. I mean,
remarried though. You'd be remarried. According to your set, you would have been.
Yeah, you would be remarried.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we're gonna have an ex-wife.
Including
I don't know. I mean,
the reality of your set.
Okay. I mean, it was kind of neat because I'd say the biggest change that it's had has been in the Philly scene. Like people like privately going, "He was on Tosh," as if it like has any like real relevance.
I mean, I think it does, though. That's like a clip that I've seen shared, though. That's cool. Like, you're on Comedy Central, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
go somewhere.
No. I mean, I appreciate that, but it hasn't had an impact. I mean, maybe it will in the long run. And I'm not trying to downplay it. Like, it was really great, and I'm really appreciative that it happened.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just trying to do some false humility where I go.
I mean, you got to meet Andy Kindler out of it, though. You got
What's
to meet
that?
Andy. You got to meet Andy Kindler out of it.
Yeah. He was.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, I didn't know enough about him at the time. I wish I knew more to be like, hi, yes, this is Andy Kindler. I just like recognized him.
I mean, I used to listen to a radio show that Andy Kindler was on, and I remember his funniest joke is, why do they call them grapes? They're not gray.
Fucking
So it's just, like, I was like, oh, this guy's just, yeah.
This guy's fun. Chalk Andy Kindler up to this man is fun. Shall we move right along into our next question?
Oh, yeah.
I'll take the helm on this one. Benny, we like to talk to people about bombing and the process when it comes to bombing. With your method, because we know you're an eco-terrorist, when it comes to bombs, what do? You put nails in there? What is it? Oh, excuse me.
Ed Kaczynski, we're getting deep.
I'm a big pipe guy. Big pipe, toilet pipe, right when they flush.
Like the cherry bomb and Problem Child. Never.
Just when they think they're
Man,
out
you've seen a lot of movies and TV shows and shit.
Oh my God, I was raised by Comedy Central, pretty much.
And it shows.
Move on. This is about you, not my.
Oh, that's cool.
childhood.
I like that.
When it comes to bombing on stage, like, what do you feel about it? Because I think it's very interesting for like one-liner comedians to speak to this point, because it's like, I've seen your material many times and at a variety of different locations.
Oh, and you've seen me bomb, I assume.
I have. I've never seen you like totally tank out. I don't want to name anything specific, but I know that there have definitely been shows where like people couldn't hear you. And I feel like a portion of it for you has always been like, if people don't hear the full joke and they're not like really paying attention, like it doesn't always land, right? So when it comes to you personally bombing, what do you think is like your approach to that kind of a thing? Does it throw you off kilter? Does it make you feel like excited? Like, walk us through that in your mind.
I'm gonna say first, sort of like a callback. I think it's really interesting that like other people are observing so closely and so carefully, because like you mentioned before, I think Jarrod mentioned, like seeing the new jokes and like you can tell that I'm gauging them in the process. And it's so interesting, like I like wearing my heart so blatantly on my sleeve. Like I feel like I'm one of those people where like my emotions are like right fucking here. And so that relates to bombing, obviously, where if I like, because each joke is living and dying on its own. And so if I say a joke and it doesn't land, like I assume you can see me go like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's like a physical lean in. Have you ever noticed that to a new joke where someone's like, and this happened? You know what I mean? They're like,
yeah.
like,
McDonald. Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, like Benny, do you feel like you have that kind of a thing? Like I always felt like you're someone that has a stage mask, if that makes sense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I try to. I mean, and so it's like I try to kind of do like a little bit more of like a goofy affectation to myself, like kind of like a what's happening with birds? You know what I mean? Maybe not as aggressive, but
That's so good.
shit. Fuck. Let me just do like some bombing thoughts. Some of the worst times I've bombed. The first time I bombed terribly. One of the first times that I had such a bad bomb, there was no laughter like whatsoever. This is really, really early on, of course. Since then I've had that same type of bomb, but like the very first one, I walked around like the neighborhood for like an hour.
Right. That's what it
just alone in the dark. What's that?
It's when it hurts the most. You know, you're so green at that point.
Absolutely. Like learning what that was. Going like, wow, a room full of people just watched me be a person they didn't like, they didn't find funny. They went like, that guy, no, and you hear it, and you know what I mean. And it's like, I mean, you like if somebody doesn't like you, I think a lot of people are like really good at hiding that, or they won't tell you, or they just won't interact with you. But in stand up, it's like, fucking immediate. You know what I mean? They go, no, go fuck yourself. And it's a crowd, it's a group of people going,
Right.
go fuck yourself.
I know that I've seen. I remember there was a show that we did once, and I won't name any names, but there was a show where people were seated at picnic benches, and you were performing on stage. And I remember that I think a thing that we talked about was that people were seated facing away from you, and you had to legitimately like win those people over to physically turn themselves around. And
Yeah, that's happened a few times. I actually can't figure out the show you're talking about. I was like thinking, like,
I'll tell you after that.
tell me after, DM me, dude. I want to know. But the worst I ever bombed, my dad was at, actually. There's something like it's worse than dead silence.
That's amazing.
I got actively heckled repeatedly by and like not in like a like pity heckles of people going like, oh no. I gotta get some water, dude. But all right, fucking yeah. So it was in Baltimore. I was doing this show. I got booked there through somebody who saw me at like Punchline, and my dad's like, "Hey, I'll drive you if you want." I'm like, "Fuck it, let's do that." I haven't really had him out to too many shows. We drive down. It's like an all black crowd, and they're all like middle aged.
Your target
Not my target demographic.
Is room. Yeah.
I mean, I want my jokes to have a certain universality to them.
Yeah.
So like it was a good test to be like, are they universal? And the answer is no. Which is I mean, it's an important thing to like reconsider, but I also think it like, I mean, I don't know, like my excuse for that show, I mean, I probably could have done better. I could have been more confident among other things. But like the lead guy who did really well did like drag and said the F slur for queer people a bunch, and like did a bunch of like mentally challenged. Like,
at what cost, right?
Yeah.
Kill at what cost?
They crushed. And I like when I was on stage, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get off soon. I remember hearing somebody go like, "Oh, thank God." And I'm like, "Fuck me, dude." And my dad was there, so he heard
your own
like,
father.
Yeah. So the car ride home back from Baltimore was like, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes."
The shame of your father seeing you fail is just, that's awful. Like I feel so bad for you. Like
replay for stand-up comedians.
That's awful, dude. Like no,
Yeah.
And then the crowd on top of it, because you're trying to gauge the crowd. I remember doing that recently too, where it was like all black crowd, and I remember being like, I'm kind of eating shit, but I'm kind of doing okay, or whatever. And then the next comedian went up and started with, "Just so you know, this isn't the Apollo." And they went nuts. And I was like, oh shit. It's like, it's a weird thing where you have to like figure out what a crowd wants. And sometimes they just want you to make fun of them. You know what I mean? Like your material doesn't work for them. You know what I mean? That's such a weird thing. Like, I don't know. Absolutely. It just takes years and years to figure that out. But
yeah, I mean, I think that, like,
be racist.
Yeah, there's certain stereotypes that we fit into. Sorry, what's that again?
I was saying just be so deeply stereotyped that they can't ignore you at some point, you know?
Like into the Jewish.
I also have in the first probably 2 years that I started, I did like a packed black room, and I bombed. So I was paid in shrimp. They paid me in a shrimp platter. And I bombed. It was in Delaware, and I walked in and I was like, I can't believe I'm about to do this. And you know what it is? I think. Do you find that when you bomb, like sometimes people like people will say when I talk to stand-up comedians, they say like, I've been through the worst social experience that a human being can endure. So I fear almost no social experiences anymore in
I
some
actually don't think that's true. I mean, I agree. I don't really fear certain social experiences. But that's just like, I don't know. I feel like that's like more of a, I do feel like it does generally harden you. But like I can think of social experiences from my life that I've liked less than bombing. Do you know what I mean?
right. Yeah.
Bombing is like it's surreal, but they're mostly strangers, or if they're not strangers, they know they've seen you do well. If you bomb every time, then that's the worst possible.
Then you're bad, you know.
But like, yes, they're either strangers or they know that you're just bombing. For the most part, but like I've been like, for some reason coming to mind is like this camp I went to where I just made like a bad impression on the first day, and nobody wanted to hang out with me for the full like week, and I just like remember this like deeply, and I'm like, yo, fuck, like it was like a traumatic, like not that traumatic, but like just really like
legitimately it could be. I had an overnight camp that I went to once, and for the first like 3 days I just like wasn't clicking with the other kids, and it eventually turned itself around. But those 3 days I remember being like having dark thoughts, just being upset all the time.
Dude, I tried to do a magic trick to impress them like 4 days in. I was like, check, I got a deck of cards. Oh man, I cringed so fucking hard when they all like looked so, like the memory of them looking disinterested and then like being like, you're fucking faking it, it's fake bullshit. And I'm like, oh man, I wasn't even like a magic kid, but like
magic kid. Dude, it's very true. It's like I went to a camp once that you had to spend an hour and a half reading in the camp. It like while you were separated from everybody. It's basically like you were just out in the woods and you read for an hour and a half. And
Jarrod got kidnapped and he doesn't want to admit it.
That's Stockholm syndrome. Literally, so I'm reading and they're like, hey, if you pee in the woods and you're found peeing in the woods, you'll be like expelled from the camp. And I was so freaked out, and I had to pee so bad that I ended up pissing my pants. But here's the thing. God. Wait, I was so worried about everybody else and their reaction to me peeing my pants. There was a creek right nearby, and I remember I just walked to it and screamed, "Oh shit!" and I pretended to fall in.
That's actually really smart. I feel like that.
Yeah. So I just got soaking wet, and then no one knew I pissed my pants.
Oh my
hell
God,
yeah,
Jarrod.
But that's how much I wanted people's acceptance that I was going to be like, hey, it doesn't make sense to make 6th graders be alone for an hour and a half with a book and not let them pee.
That is the thing. I teach 6th graders right now, and the levels that they will go to be socially accepted are disgusting. It is absolutely wretched, the things that they say and the things that they do to try to impress each other.
I wonder if that's the peak of it. Like, I wonder what age it's like.
Well, that's the thing about 6th graders is that you're so like you don't have empathy. I often say to people, like, when people are like, why are my kids so bad? Like, sometimes I'll have parents come up to me and they'll be like, why is my child like bad? And it's a very uncomfortable conversation. But I have to say to them, like, this is the oldest that they get without like really developing a lot of empathy or like understanding a lot of things about responsibility. And it's like this interesting dynamic where it's like, this is like a crest point and it's going to like fall away. But it is weird. It's weird to talk to, especially to comedians, about that kind of a thing. Like what you did in 6th grade to like gain acceptance and shit.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
No, that's for sure. I mean, I definitely like begged my parents for things I didn't need. You know what I mean? Like I definitely tried to wear clothes that didn't work with my personality or
Abercrombie and Fitch, baby.
Oh, you went that?
I
never do that.
Nike sneakers, Abercrombie and Fitch, and getting Old Spice deodorant because you saw a commercial for it.
Dude, everybody just smelled like it was like in 6th grade, it was like you smelled like shit naturally, and then you sprayed it on naturally. It was like,
Yeah, right. That's the thing is, I remember we watched the movie that like explains what sex is to you, like the super underfunded sex education system video that's supposed to like be like we're over and done with, and it's sponsored by Old Spice, and everybody got
Sponsored by Old Spice?
legitimately.
Oh,
And
that's
everybody
so
got
funny.
a little stick of Old Spice, and the next day everybody came in smelling like it. And I remember telling a friend of mine, I was like, "Did you put on the deodorant last night?" And he went, "Yeah, dude, I put it all over my body." And I was like, "Dude, you're not supposed to do that," because I had read the instructions on the back,
oh.
and it says apply to underarms only. And he was like, "I put on my forehead and under my neck," and I was like, "No, dude, you're gonna die. Like
That
you might
kid
die."
fucked.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Spree.
You see those tag commercials where it's like they would spray it in like a leading line down to like their crotch. And
Yeah.
they'd be like, tag, lead the way.
Oh, could you imagine the fucking all the fucking like shark skin suits being worn at that board meeting or like whatever, like the platinum table that they're all standing at?
Yeah.
man.
How do we just market kids who smell like shit to smell more like shit? Basically?
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody showed me a picture of Axe body spray the other day, and I was like, what a fucking blast from the past. But truly, it had its moment in the sun.
Oh yeah, dude. That's all that 5. Didn't you have a 5 gum bit?
I do have a 5 gum bit that's like super undercooked. Like it works, but only one line of it does, and most of it's buildup and shit.
Yeah.
That's the line that works. I want to go to the line that works.
The line that works is it's about the ads that used to come out for it. Do you remember those? Because they like.
Oh yeah. This is how you feel when you chew 5 gum.
Wait.
like,
Just 1 second. 1 second. I remember the debut of the 5 gum bit, and this is just my David impression. He goes, "Do you remember 5 gum?" And asking me if I remembered 5 gum. I was like, yes, please do this bit. I cannot wait right now.
I remember because I'm always very nervous right before I like put a thing together. And like because I'm nervous that I'm gonna like put it out there and like it's not gonna come back. But like the bit is that it's like the commercials that used to come out about it. Like now commercials I feel like are very like ironic and shit like this. But it was like this very serious question. And the line that I always do is, it was like, how it feels to chew 5 gum. How would you like to get a hand job at a ball bearings factory? 5. And so it's like that kind of a thing. It's like just the intensity of it, I think. As you could tell, it's like a half-baked kind of a thing.
No,
I want to jump us into the, just to get to the end of this question real quick. In terms of biggest bomb, just to get back to where we were, what do you think is the biggest bomb you've ever seen someone else do?
Oh, that's so good.
You don't have to name names.
Oh man.
It's hard to remember.
Don't worry about time.
Yeah.
We can edit this thing too. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay. My thoughts. I think any bomb where they keep digging the hole, like they realize they're bombing, and instead of like doing material or like ending early or something, they get like really upset and like attack the crowd. I saw this one person. Wait, actually, I ended up like getting a ride home with this person. Like just happened to have the same like lift afterwards. And then I would talk to them. I was like, hey, it was okay. They were nice enough, but their like set was about how hot they are and they haven't been bombing yet. And it's like, isn't that insane? Because they're so hot and yet they're so funny. And they were bombing. And like and they were like, this is my first time bombing. And like the crowd was like, the fuck is it? Like they were like their ego was so big. And they kept like inflating it mid-bomb to be like, you don't know who I am. What's that?
It crested over on itself somehow.
Yeah, that's funny. It's like, I'm so hot, but I can take a shared Uber. If you were that hot, you wouldn't be taking a shared Uber.
I don't know. I guess they. I don't know. to give them the benefit of the doubt, they were clearly still really like new, and they're probably like in their mind like, I don't know, fucking panic mode. So I don't know.
Dude, you just do that. You go into, it's like every human being, but it's like, I just feel like I'll go into that mode where it's like the crowd, right? You know what I mean? I'll
Yeah.
go on to anybody like that crowd, right? And then just, if I get an okay, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, thank God. You know?
Oh yeah, that's always awkward if somebody comes off the stage and they're like, oh, tough crowd, and like you like had a good set and you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's, I mean, sometimes I'll say like, no, you had a bad set, depending on how close. Like, if they're a friend, like I'll be like, nah, dude, like that was you, like,
Yeah.
or like I want people to be honest with me too. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I've bombed and then watched another comedian bomb and blame myself, and then the other comedian's like, no, it's the crowd, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I'm like,
yeah, I agree with that. Fuck
like
it.
they agree to, but if they don't agree, you know what I mean? They're like, hey, maybe you should work on that, bit about fire hydrants you're doing. You know, like maybe work on that.
They also bomb, but they're like, no, it's a good crowd. I just suck.
They're so brutally honest with themselves. I know that's a thing that comedians really do, I think, value that sometimes. Like friends, like people that I honestly think that are friends of mine. Like I had a friend of mine who we were doing a roast show, and he didn't write material well enough, and it just like it didn't work for them, and they went up, it didn't go well, and then they came back, and everybody else was like, they were a pretty well regarded comedian, and they came back, and I said to them, I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, you're better than that, you know? And
yeah,
we were talking about it like a few months ago, and they were like, I appreciate so much more that you actually said that, that I think it's so valued, you know, like to like really, really be honest with someone. I feel like feels really.
Some people I've been really honest with like a few times, and then they don't improve. Then I'm like, okay.
That kind of
just say hi.
That kind of leads me to a question that I've been wanting to ask, and I know you can obviously recite it by memory, and I've seen you perform so many times, and I'm like, every time you're at a show or a mic, I'm very happy to see. Like, I think there's a kind of comedian where it's like, I like your material a lot, I like your one-liners, but that but like
fucked up.
I feel like there's comedians where you want to watch the crowd react to, and I feel like you're one of those comedians to me where it's like, I want to see people. So my question is this, and I've never actually asked you this in person, and it's the first thing I thought of when we were going to interview you, is you say in the beginning of your set, hey, I have Tourette's. If I shake and curse, don't worry, I'm okay, right? That's pretty much it, right?
Has anyone
ever missed the first part and gotten like mad at you or like walked out or anything?
Well, so I mean, I forgot to do it, I think, once, and then I quickly realized like, oh, they don't know what's going on, and I explained. But there's been a few different, like, usually that's like fine, but I noticed like after my set, there's a few different things with the Tourette's. During the set, people first have to gauge whether or not it's real, and then they have to gauge like, are they allowed to laugh at it? Is it part of the act? Like, What is this? And then when I get off stage, I can feel people then watch me to be like, is it real? Does he still have Tourette's when he leaves the stage?
Yeah.
And then even then, people will come up to me afterwards and be like, is it real? And I have to be like, no.
You performed at the Chameleon Club, and a comedian that is a friend of mine and someone like I actually like and respect in comedy, halfway through your set, like tugged on my sleeve like a 7-year-old, was like, "Is this real? Is that him? Is that his?" Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
What do you think?"
People
like,
don't know. It's really
at
strange.
this day and age, do you think someone's like, they have Tourette's? No.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix. the trouble is there's like a few like very famous cases of people faking Tourette's.
Jerry Lewis? Who the
Like-
hell are you talking about?
Well, like Cartman in South Park was like one that's like really in the zeitgeist.
Oh,
That was
okay.
like a whole episode. Tourette's guy on YouTube would like say like random stuff like
Yeah, I was a victim of
like Bob
Tourette's guy.
Saget or something. But then he didn't actually have Tourette's. And
Yeah,
so-
Jarrod, of all the people in this conversation, you were a victim of Tourette's guy. You're the victim.
Dude, I mean, you watched that and you were like, oh man, this is awful. And you were just like, who yelled out Bob Saget? Like, I don't know, whatever, fuck it.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think I'm not sure if it was a tick or if I just really liked saying Obama for a while, but it's a good word. It's a good smooth word.
Yeah,
My Tourette's is like, and if you've hung out with me, like off, like outside of a mic or something, like my tics are like way less when I'm like chill.
yeah, for sure. Shane
always
O'Connor,
chill.
Philadelphia comedian Shane O'Connor.
What did he fucking say? What does Shane got to
Shane
say?
O'Connor said he's faking.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, you guys know, like, it's essentially a nervous tick. I really think like a nervous tick on steroids. But like, yeah, most of the time I don't have anywhere near as bad. Like,
yeah. I mean, I also Alex Yang, Philadelphia comedian Alex Yang said that you have a web map of jokes. The way that you write jokes, it's like a web map. I don't really know what he means by that.
Yeah, it's like I like to do different methods for writing jokes. That's like one of them that I like to do is like association webs.
Okay.
You like octopus has 8 legs. If an octopus has 8 legs and a stop sign has 8 sides, if I saw an octopus that said stop, I'd stop swimming. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Right, like you're highlighting these connection points.
Yeah,
huh?
right. I'm doing like association based stuff. And
Could you give it? I
one
want to give a guess. I wanted to wager a guess. Is that how you got to the one that joke that you do where it's skyscrapers are made by man?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Could you, for people that might be listening to this, God knows why, but for whoever's listening to this, could you could you give the audience an idea of, like, could you recite that joke for us?
Hey, skyscrapers are made by people. What's the fucking deal with that, huh? What's going on there? Who the heck thought that was a
bada
good
bing,
thing, huh?
bada boom, and then you
Bada bing, buildings are so tall. What the heck?
Only Italian here.
All right, I'll tell you the joke.
Just saying.
So it's modern skyscrapers are made out of glass. Glass is made out of sand. Sand is made out of seashells. Seashells are made by sea creatures. The sea creatures are made by the gods. The gods might have been made by people. So in a sort of twisted sense, you could say that modern skyscrapers might have been made by people.
So that's a really good joke, and I feel like is one that not only shows like it's not even a one-liner kind of a thing. It's like an interesting formatting kind of a deal. Do you find that, because I always find that, because comedy I think is less about finding jokes than it is about finding a formula and plugging those things in, or at least I feel like it would be for people that write the way that you do. And I don't mean to project or anything, but like when you have that kind of a thing, are you saying to yourself like, oh, I've put in like the best thing for that sort of scaffolding that's going to be built up in it? Or
I'm putting with the like the base level like stuff that's going on there, I'm not putting the best scaffolding that like possible. I'm not looking at it going, yes, the best possible like structure around like the root level like ideas. I'm going like what's the fucking first scaffolding I found, and let me dig around with that. I mean, not always. If the first stuff I find is dog shit, then I'll keep looking.
Do you think the jokes start from one-liners like that though? Like
no,
that?
the jokes start with different pieces. Like it really depends. I mean, like sometimes I'll start with like just like the concept of like hummingbirds is something that I've been like really trying to write jokes about for a while, because you don't see too many hummingbird things. And so so like then you'll get like
it's very unique. It's deeply.
I'm
very deep.
sorry. That's so good. Just a comedian at the open mic who's like, I got a hummingbird joke that's gonna wallop these people. Like, I'm sorry. It's just hilarious to me.
Thanks, man. You want to hear a hummingbird joke?
Yes, please.
Dude, but
What's
I just,
it,
before you tell it, I want to say that is so something to me that it's like an art form of like you're making people laugh over a fucking hummingbird. You know what I mean? Most people have to go
find out.
No, I'm just saying most people have to go up and be like,
Legitimately.
you ever live with a woman who's menstruating? You know what I mean? You gotta be like, what the fuck? You know? I don't know. Yes, please, hummingbird joke. I'm sorry.
That's a good metaphor for a hummingbird. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Anybody can do this. It's just you just got to be stupid about the right thing. It's
That's great advice.
so, fucking. Hey, birds are symbolic for different things. Like a dove is peace, a hawk is war, owl is wisdom, eagle is America, a hummingbird is look how good this TV screen is.
I love what you said there, though. That before your half-assed joke, I loved what you said about. I have one twisted tea, and but I loved what you said about you have to be dumb about the right things. That does reverberate really well. Do you find that it's like I find that it is one of those things where it's like you just have one of those thoughts that sort of just dumps out of your head, and you're like just like sit with it long enough. What do you like? Because I think a lot about joke writing is about joke like thought identification and thought listening. Could you dig a little bit into how that sits for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll bye, Jarrod.
I wasn't going to call him out, but if you want to.
I like to.
Are you a journaler?
Like, what's it?
I was just saying, like, are you a journaler? Are you someone who keeps a notebook? What's your kind of a thing?
I have a spreadsheet.
Legit?
Yeah. I have a spreadsheet of all the jokes, grouped into like different like phases of like where I think they're at and like what I want to do with them, and like different like styles and stuff.
Interesting.
I use a software called Airtable. I really do think like being organized is like very important for this, because it's like I have all one-liners, and so I can't be like, oh, I'll do my dog bit and have that be a 5-minute thing. I have to do 20 jokes, and I have to have all of those jokes somewhere. And so like now I've got like a few hundred jokes, and they're not, most of them are terrible, but I like have to have them somewhere so I can go, what are my jokes?
What are they? Yeah.
But when I actually like, so getting like an initial concept, like if I like, just two things that I really like. Shit and fuck. No, sorry, man. That's gonna. God damn it. That's like a perfectly timed like tick. That like people will be like he's faking it, because that's like one of those like pure perfect riffs. Anyway,
Right.
there's two things I really like. Really based core ideas that I think people haven't like done too much with, like hummingbirds, for example, or like I haven't heard too much like witch material, so I was writing a lot of that for a bit. And then the second thing is like I really like specific ideas. For example, and here's one that I haven't really gotten anything out of, but I've like played around with it a bunch. Is that polar bears are one of the few animals that actively hunt people. And it's like, so you have that whole idea there, and that's like a really like good like base level idea that you can go, okay, like let me look at that polar bears. Let me see different types of bears. Like, you know, like panda bears can't actively hunt people. They're too busy making us make them fuck. You know what I mean? Right. I just wrote that. You know what I mean? Like that, and I wrote that by doing like that like association crap.
Right. There's a big web there that you could be working with. I do really like the idea of like, and I think that a lot of this comes from like, I used to work on a late night show and we would have a big whiteboard in the room. And I feel like laying things out, like how many pieces you can get into from one specific concept. Like you can break like a clown car. We once did an example about a clown car and we broke, I mean, you could talk about wheels, color, lots of people in one place. The concept of, you know, funny people in one place. There's lots of different things. I like what you said there though about the thing is physically long. It's a long sentence, and that I mean, to your eye, that seems like such a rich.
Oh yeah, it's such a loaded idea. There's so many like pieces there that are like chunked together. I'll say also a friend of mine and I also co-wrote a joke about clown cars. Me and my friend Tim Livingston, who you also know actually.
Yeah.
And the idea was like, how many test dummies do they put in a clown car when they like test them? But that was like the whole idea. But I like the idea. You know what I mean? It's not like a joke, but it's
but it's a good premise, definitely.
Right.
Dave,
Yeah,
what late night show did you work at?
What's that?
Dave, what late night show did you work at?
Yeah, I saw your look of extreme doubt. I was on.
No, it was like, hey, we're friends, but I was like, excuse me.
I wrote on a late night show in college at Temple.
Okay.
Called Temple Tonight, and I was one of the first writers on that team. But like there was I'm not saying that to toot my own horn, but like that it was like an interesting thing of like, you know, developing voice, but also I think that developing someone else's voice, I think, is a really interesting thing. Like when you're writing for someone else. Benny, is that something that you've ever done? Like, were you ever a writer like for a show or anything like that?
No, I never written for a show. I haven't written.
Okay, our research department is fucked up right
Yeah.
now. So we have a bunch of interns.
Jamie didn't pull that up.
Yeah. To give you an idea about our intern situation, I have my laundry hanging in my bedroom.
The first one. We're doing great. I think we're doing great. Don't worry.
I like where we've gotten.
I would definitely say that improv is like very like you have to know other people's comedy styles. Like being on a team with a certain group of other people for like 4 years and like knowing like going into certain scenes, I'm like, oh, I know this person really likes to be weird and physical. You know what I mean? Or like this person really likes to do like mime work or something, you know? And yeah, so that's the closest I've come is
it's valid.
The gist of my friends' work. I mean, I'd like to, sometimes at Mike's, I'll like, if I hear a joke that is like close to working, I'll like, something fun is to like, and I assume you guys do this.
Yeah.
You go like, well, how would I have done that?
It's a great thing. It's like seeing a comedian that's your friend and seeing them try something and then you add something to it. Recently there was a comic talking about homeschooling and like then they talked about their anger and I was like, yeah, you could say like as being homeschooled, you were a son and a student. You were a brother and a student and a brother. You were a killer and a school shooter. You know, like,
okay.
You know what I mean? I was like, you know, I don't know how dark you want to go, but like, there's so much to that. You know, it's awesome to be able to do that and to have that comedic mind and have that friendship, which is so cool to like go up to someone and be like, hey, here's like a tag or here's something, you know what I mean? And they respect it.
I do not take tags.
No, you won't take a tag?
No. I don't. I mean, I'll give them if people want them, but I'm doing that just to like for the sheer sake of playing with the joke. I'm not actually trying to give them a tag.
I'm saying, but will you take one? Like if someone
No, I won't. I don't take tags.
I know that. You know why I know that? Because I tried to give you one once. I tried to give you a joke once.
Yeah.
So bad. It was a one-liner I wrote, and I said that a lot of people start bands, but a lot of people don't finish them.
That's funny though. I remember saying.
And I remember being like, "This is a Benny joke."
Yeah. I just don't. The only joke that I did that was somebody else's for a little bit was my roommate told me I look like a circus weak man, and so I was kind of like opening a little bit for the mustache, but no, everything else I like it to be purely my own
That's cool though. I like that. I really do like that. Like yeah.
But you know what, Jarrod? Typical Italian to overstep your bounds. Nonetheless, I was wondering if we could. I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about like
I don't know you're Italian.
You don't know that? I've never seen him
maybe-
perform.
Wait, I
I
don't pay
asked
attention
you if
when
you were
perform.
Italian. Do you remember that?
What's
I
that?
was like, your name is Thomas Anthony Massa. I was like, I'm Italian. Are you Italian? You're like, no, I'm Jewish.
Oh shit. Okay. You know, I think I just continued to assume you were German because you're like Lancaster.
That's awful. That's the worst thing you've ever said to me. Yeah. First generation Sicilian, baby. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
dude. Well, now I know.
Call this
That's a
thing
lot of
spaghetti
jokes
and
on
matzo
that,
balls,
too.
but
What's
whatever.
that? What's that?
We were gonna call this thing spaghetti and matzo balls, but I think that's a little bit too
Or
You said in the chat. I'm
You're-
telling. I
you
probably.
want
I
to
should
tell him
be
the
Italian.
slightly more offensive name?
Yeah, the slightly more offensive name for this was Gringotts and Gabagool.
No, I'm into that. That's funny.
It's funny.
Just takes us both out at the same bullet.
Harry Potter's a really good. That's like got so much good like joke stuff. I mean, just getting back. I'm gonna tie it all back in. Where it's like there's some media that people just haven't seen, and so you can't reference. I mean, all media is like that. Like you can't reference like certain parts of Harry Potter unless you like really give it. Like they have that chess board that is like alive or whatever.
Yeah.
You can go on stage in Harry Potter. They have a chessboard that's alive. Boom, you got it. You set up the whole idea, but you can't just say wizard's chess. And I've seen like comedians just say wizard's chess. I'm like, dude, half this people don't know. Not everybody has seen it. You know what I mean? Maybe that's not bad example because that's not like it's more likely people have seen it. But you get what's a movie that like Ghostbusters?
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon. I have not seen Lethal Weapon.
Because
You
of Win
referenced
Dixie.
it. Right. Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I haven't seen Because of Win Dixie.
You haven't seen that fucking movie?
No, I got no idea what that is. So
Wow.
like if somebody were to reference like you know, some specific concept from them,
Right.
then I'm like, it's lost on me. But there's certain stuff that's just in the zeitgeist. Like if somebody hasn't seen Star Wars, they know what a lightsaber is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you this because I think I'll be heavily editing. I do want to ask you this. So we did Biggest Bomb. I like this thing. I don't know if Dave's gonna like it, but I really like basketball, so I started this idea. But it's called Put 'em on a Poster. It's where you dunk on a comedian. You got to tell me. There's got to be something. Dave also was saying another way to do it was like, is there something in comedy that bothers you? Is there somebody in comedy that bothers you? Is there something you want to go away in comedy?
David Feinberg.
That
David,
guy
you're
sucks.
You're just trying to eliminate another Jew? Is that what you're trying to do here?
Step on my turf, says Benny.
It's the same turf.
I am actually what I'll go after is comedy that is too mean. Like sometimes stuff needs to be taken down for sure. Like it's the concept of like speaking truth to power or whatever is like I don't mean it to be too dismissive of it because I do really like that stuff. Like I like Carlin and I like Hicks. I know I guess you don't like Hicks.
Oh, that was just a joke. That was like a joke. But I mean, do you really want me to say something? Like I can say it in like a couple sentences. Do you really want me to?
I am curious. Yeah.
No, I just think that Bill Hicks says everything that you think when you're 16 years old, and then he just said it on stage, and everyone was like, "Oh man!" It's just every fucking kid who smoked weed and bought a van, and you know what I mean, lived in it or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like the universe is everything. You know what I mean? The door is ajar. It's like, yeah, I get that. You know what I mean? I don't want to rant. I'm gonna edit that out.
Okay.
just saying, like, I don't know. It's just fucking like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, really, like, I get it. You smoke weed. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my thoughts are that There's like
Anyway,
get it. It's
Benny,
so
what
cute.
is
Fuck it.
your thought about this?
Yeah, sorry. I have a more thought. You want more? You want more? Aunt Mary Pat? No, there we go.
What if for Bill Hicks, I think like the weed for one thing was like when he was doing it was edgier just for the time,
Yeah.
as well as some of his other material. Like he's actually like a really writer, and like it's like kind of like lost in sort of the rant. Like people don't quite realize because they think he's a ranter, and he is, but it's like the jokes within that are actually pretty tight.
Right, he's still a writer.
Right. Even if you disagree with the stuff, but and I do sometimes.
Yeah.
Fucking yeah. So okay, I think a lot of people, a lot of their comedy is based on like pointing out like I don't know, like annoying social patterns or like making fun of people or like whatever. It's important and it's informative, but sometimes I'm like, let's be nice. But I don't know. I mean, because sometimes it's really helpful and pushing stuff, and there's ways to do it where it's like you can either just point it out and be like, look how fucking dumb this guy is, or you could do like a satire of it. You know what I mean? You could do like something like more subtle that points out all the same flaws, but is more like funny.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. And like, one of my favorite comics is Seinfeld, but like, you don't need to do 5 minutes on airline peanuts. You know what I mean? You don't need to bring these people down who are just serving you drinks in the sky. You know, like it's kind of dumb. You know, I get what you're saying though. Yeah, it's
he's not, yeah. No, he's not exactly the person I was thinking of, but
oh, okay.
Well, I wasn't like, God damn it, Jerry Seinfeld. He's so annoyed, and that makes me annoyed. No.
That's what Benny's
That's the most
specific
Jewish thing that
tick.
can happen. Is being annoyed.
That's the most specific tick that Benny has. Being like,
I
God
was-
damn
I was
it, Jerry
just
Seinfeld!
Annoyed at annoyance. That's really good.
No, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I
airlines.
think it's funny because I think there's some people who have such a conviction for certain things in comedy. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I said the Bill Hicks thing, but like, if someone is, I would be like, oh, people go up and talk about therapy. That's when I like zone out. Like you know what I mean? I don't want to hear about therapy or something like that. But
I think in terms of subjects, it's like people are like, oh, airline stuff is hack, and it's like, no, it is not hack. Like I think like very famously, like a lot of like the really good comedians, like Joe List has some new airline material. You know what I mean? And I think like a lot, like it's sort of like a rite of passage in a certain sense to get something unique and original out of airline.
what's already there, yeah. What's been done, and yeah.
Right, like Julio Torres has a I feel like I said his name like with a flavor. Didn't mean to. I'm a white man. Or I hope I pronounced it correctly. Anyway, he's got a whole bit in his act, like his whole Shapes show. He has a bit where he discusses like one of his like shapes is the curtain on the airplane that separates first class and like middle whatever. What is business class? I don't know. Yeah, whatever. I'm not on airplanes much. What the like coach.
That's a bit not on airplanes much.
Right. But like if you didn't know, like if you like I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, that was an airline bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I still can't get over the idea of Jarrod doing Jerry Seinfeld if he never made it. I'm not on airplanes much.
Hey, what's the deal with not having any food?
Hey, what's up with when you're getting on the Greyhound bus and everyone is sweaty?
What's up with EBT? I mean, you know,
what's EBT? Is that electronic bank transfer?
No, that's
do you know?
EBT is food stamps.
EBT.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Wow, that's the most Jewish thing you've ever said. What's EBT? Anyway,
I don't know. I didn't know it had an acronym.
It's interesting that you mentioned Julio Torres because I do think that he is someone that is slept on by people. Do you have a dark horse that you think is someone that people sleep on comedically right now?
I mean, there's a lot of people who I think are hilarious who will eventually rise. A lot of people in the Philly scene for sure. I'm not going to name names there because I don't want to start
Name
shit.
7.
David Feinberg. Just David Feinberg. David Feinberg. David Feinberg. Jarrod Micale.
No, not my name.
Micale?
Jarrod Micale, but whatever, it's fine.
Micale.
Yeah,
That's why I thought it was German.
everybody gets it. It's insane. I remember the first time I went up, Kat shook my hand as I got up to the mic, and she was like, "I thought you were black." I was like, "No." Yeah.
She said that to me after my set. Motherfucker. What were we?
But like
Oh.
on a world stage, who do you think are some people that have really been your dark horse? The ones that maybe people are sleeping on, that maybe in 3-5 years people are going to be like, I can't believe I didn't know about that person.
I don't know if this
Otherwise.
person in particular has. Chris Fleming is who I'm thinking of as being like an absolute, like, very clear genius of like, I don't know. But his stuff is so specific that I'm curious if it will translate to a larger audience. There's I mean, Julio Torres is definitely one of them. Maybe like Dan Licata, Carmen Christopher. I'm trying to think of like
I'm gonna write these people down. I don't even know any of these people.
Oh my God! Well, Carmen Christopher and Dan Licata. I mean, the other day I biked past Good, and I saw that Dan Licata tickets. I mean, that show is going to be one of the ones that's canceled, and I feel like it was going to be. I mean, he is so absolutely fantastic, and I feel like there's a sensibility about both Dan Licata and Connor O'Malley, and I will hand it back to you in a moment. But like the idea of taking sort of I mean, I feel like a big criticism of modern comedy is that like you can't be angry or sort of like aggressive in some way if you're like a white guy. And I feel like Dan Licata and Connor O'Malley are both people that are like doing really, they're showing that it's not that you can't do it. It's just that a sense of innovation has to be found for it to be really, funny.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with that. I'm also like very consciously trying to make sure I'm not just saying white men.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
Hey, you didn't mention Shane O'Connor. Don't worry.
Yeah.
fucking. Yeah,
Do
I
you
don't know.
remember this? Never mind. Forget it. Anyway, go ahead.
Now I want to know. You want to edit it out?
Is this? No, forget it. Forget it. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, do you have any other people that you think are the ones that we're going to look back and be like that? I mean, absolutely amazing work on their part.
Joe Pera. I mean, there's a lot.
Trying
There's
to
a
give you
lot
an
of people.
opportunity to not say another white guy.
Yeah. I would think about it. I mean, I was gonna say
Joe
Meg Stalter,
List?
but I don't know her stuff enough yet.
Meg who?
Meg Stalter. She's like coming up on
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's been killing online stuff right now too, and she's really doing well with that kind of a thing. I mean, her internet presence I always find really fantastic.
I'm
joke writer.
loving this though. I'm like so mainstream. I was like, he's gonna say Sam Morril. Like I was like, like yeah. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Like, within the same Sam Morril like zone, it's like I think like Dina Hashem. I think she's a really good writer.
Yeah.
Rachel McCartney.
Absolutely.
Is somebody who I've been
That
seeing.
XXX
doing
Tentacion joke that she had was amazing. And
I actually don't know it.
XXX Tentacion died. He was shot in a sports car, basically, and he was robbed of a bunch of cash. And the Dina Hashem joke was just that when I realized he was robbed by that much cash, I thought, wow, I really need Venmo. I don't have Venmo. I'm like paraphrasing, but it's such a good joke. You know what I mean? To like make light of a tragedy, which is
Right,
something.
I'll have to.
Yeah,
I'll look it up in context.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. She's great. She kills someone in a roast battle. I love watching those like roast battle things.
I think that's what I've seen a bit of hers as well. Like her,
yes, amazing. Yeah.
There's certain. Oh, fucking Michelle Wolf. Like, I mean, now I don't mean to be doing too much of the pandering thing where it's like we're three white dudes going like,
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
scores
shout
from
out.
20 women. But like, of course, all of these women are like hysterical. I wish it wasn't so. It's weird that it has to be categorical. Like it's like I wish that I wish I knew more women of color like performers.
Yeah.
I wish I knew. And is that like that's my own bias of like, am I not seeking out the right like internet venue? You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just.
I think it is.
Like I think it just comes into your point of view is like I watch a lot of like the Comedy Cellar stuff. I really like the Comedy Cellar. And Yamanika Saunders was on.
Yes, a killer.
Amazing. I mean, it's like it's how it comes into you. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that that's weird to think like, oh, do I like this amount of people or this? You know, am I being fair? What comes to you? You know what I mean? And she's amazing. Like I don't know. It just passed over me. You know, I didn't know who it was. You know, I don't think it's weird to not.
I see what you're saying, but you have to I very consciously like watch a stand-up special or not. You know what I mean? And so it's like, is it a mix of me not looking out for women of color doing like stand-up specials, or are there just not that many on like
I think
Netflix?
It's hard to watch.
Like,
I think it's hard to watch a full special now. I think that's
more stand-up is bad, and so I don't know.
I've seen so many people post today about the Chris D'Elia thing, and I'm like, I'm not going to spend a 1 hour watching Chris D'Elia. I'll watch a 3-minute clip of Chris D'Elia.
You don't like Chris D'Elia? I like Chris D'Elia.
No, I understand. I'm not saying it's bad content, but I'm saying like, am I going to spend a whole hour?
Right,
I love Todd Glass.
Dedicate that time with.
Yeah, I love Todd Glass, and I went back and was like, I'm going to watch this whole Todd Glass special. And I got like straight 35 minutes in, and I was like, I got other stuff to do. You know what I mean? Like, he's great, but you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to dedicate a whole hour.
Well, I also find that there's a lot of different things where it's like I love Eddie Pepitone. I'm a huge Eddie Pepitone fan, and I find that some like when it comes to almost anything, there's like a certain flavor or there's like a flavor to like a certain type of thing. Like I would classify Eddie Pepitone as being sort of like doomsday comedy, and I can't sit in that for too long. I find I find it like very depressing after a while. If I want to dedicate, like it depends also what mood I'm in, what mood I want to have conjured out of what I'm watching. I don't know. Do you have anything that you could say to that, Benny?
I mean, if I'm in a specific mood, I'll go find specific people, that sort of thing. But I do want to get back on the idea of like, in terms of like what comes to you, it's definitely shaped by the zeitgeist and like the power positions. And like right now, there's like very clear like chunks and groups of like Joe Rogan, and I mean I like him as a person. I don't know. I think he's a nice enough guy, but he very clearly has like a collection of like comedians in his umbrella, whose comedy is like edgy. I mean, even his own comedy, and it's I don't know. And so like a lot of what does end up coming ashore in the Tides is like a lot of this stuff that's within different like mold categories of like, here's the woke comic. I don't know, man, I really shouldn't be shitting on people's stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, especially because Joe Rogan's a big listener to this.
Yeah, he's a Patreon supporter.
I don't know. What was that? Fucking thinking. Speaking, Nikki Glaze is somebody who I recently have been like, oh, she's a genius. You know what I mean? Like just very clearly.
Her on the roasts are amazing. I've not watched the special yet, but like, yeah, her on the roast, it's amazing.
Her special is banging is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. It's unbelievable.
Really well done.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I will. I just think it's crazy to dedicate a full hour to watch someone do stand up. I think I watched last full stand up I watched was Dan Soder, because like
that's a great special too.
Yeah, 18 people were like, watch the special. I was like, oh, I can't disagree with that many that amount of people.
Yeah, I watched it like 3 times. I don't know. That's a good one.
I still have not watched the Dan Soder.
What's your number one, Benny? What's your
my
number one
favorite special? I don't know.
If you had to
Shit.
pick like a top 3 or maybe like a Mount Rushmore of stand-up specials, do you have any that come to mind that might like be in your top 5 maybe?
I would definitely put one of like Dave Chappelle's like early 2000 ones there.
Oh, like
Um,
Killing Me Softly.
something like that.
Yeah, I'd have to. It's one of the two. It's like Pulling Me Softly or one of the whatever the other one was called. I don't
Mm.
remember.
Oh, I don't remember what it's called. Damn.
Probably definitely one of Mitch Hedberg's.
Jamie, pull that up.
No, I will not become the tech guy of this podcast.
We need a tech guy. Who can we get?
We got to get an intern. I bet we could give someone college credit for this. I bet we could find a way to pretend that this is for college credit.
Is
Gary
Lyle still in
Seinfeld.
college? Can we get Lyle?
Lyle's doing better than both of us. We're doing a Zoom podcast. Lyle's making things for Adult Swim.
Yeah. I feel like we're just like going off the rails, but I do remember at that roast battle, someone just being like, it was such a great joke. It was like, Lyle has been rejected by Adult Swim twice. How weird do you have to be? That's such
You know who it was? That's
amazing
TJ
joke.
Swigert. That was
Yo, I love
definitely
Lyle,
TJ
dude.
Swigert because there was only one round of the cave roast battle, and TJ Swigert was up against Lyle. And I give it to him because like that was like an impossible task. Lyle, to be a really weird comic, I feel like in a roast especially, you're like untouchable.
Yeah. He took it so serious. I love that. I loved watching Lyle's face the entire time. Killing Me Softly, for what it's worth, I think that's what the other is.
That's
Yeah, one of the two. I don't remember which one I liked more.
Mhm.
But I thought those were two like phenomenal specials.
No, fucking
Absolutely.
Chappelle is amazing.
Yeah. His recent stuff I like disagree with politically, but
Was Brennan not behind that though? I don't.
Neil Brennan. Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
Neil Brennan right here.
what's it? I like his. I think he's a good like writer, but I think he like knows he's a good writer, and it like shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he started as like I watched a thing with him, and he started as a doorman, and he listened to all the jokes, and he would think of tags and things like that, and that's how he started. So it's like basically just standing at the door listening. It's awesome. You know, that's like an awesome start. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about him.
I feel like David, do you need to wrap this up? Are you okay?
All right. I'm just I'm waiting on a dinner.
Hot Pocket? What's in the
Myself
microwave?
and my girl, I'm getting a friend of mine is getting a hysterectomy live in the other room, so I should probably be
Oh,
with,
no, makes sense completely. That seems sterile.
No, I don't know. I just maybe we should go towards winding down.
Yeah, no, 100%. We're at about like an hour and a half. We can edit down. I don't want these to be too
Absolutely.
long. Benny, thank you so much, dude. This was
Look.
really fun.
Yeah.
This is fucking like
Thanks for
explode.
I forgot we were recording for like a little bit. I was like, oh yeah. I thought I was like hanging out with my boys.
That's
Oh, that's nice.
Like,
That's
yeah.
what we're looking for. All right.
Boys who
So,
want to know
I'm
all my
gonna-
opinions on comedy.
I'm going to roll this, and then we're going to say goodbye. But thank you for coming, Benny. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome. Thanks for – I don't even know if anyone's going to listen to this, so tell us.
that's what this is gonna become.
Yeah, this was fun. I had a fuck ton of fun. I
Absolutely.
know that's a
That was a
thing.
blast. Fuck
All
yeah.
right, I'm going to stop recording. Thank you. Say goodbye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Betty. Bye, everyone.
Hey, get my goddamn ass. Fuck you.